And may the Lord be present as we learn together. So I'm going away for vacation for 3 weeks, and last year we started vacation and we were like, we don't know where we're going, we don't know what we're going to, and we ended up in London, England. So we haven't actually nailed anything down yet. We have an idea that we're tossing around that I think Paul came up with is kind of exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing if this plays out, and no spoilers. No spoilers. But yeah, I'm going to be away for 3 weeks, and I thought about, what do I want to say to you before I go away, before I'm not here. I mean, 3 weeks isn't a big deal, like it's just 3 weeks, but it still feels like a big deal. So I wanted to really think about what is what are our marching orders, all of us, because we're all going in different directions. We have folks who are down east, we have folks who are, probably west of here, we have folks watching online, down south, we have people all over the place. But we are a church. So what is our sort of marching orders for the summer for the church? And the passage that Pat read to you this morning was the one that really leapt out at me. I want to share with you to begin an alternate version of that story, written by a man named Adrian Plass, who is a British writer. He's written some brilliant books. If you can track him down, he's written some wonderful books. And he's quite funny. And he writes some amazing poetry as well. So this is the sending of the 72 according to Adrian Plass. You have to hear me read this with a British accent, because I'm not going to try to do that, because it's not going to work. After these things, the Lord appointed another 70 also, and sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. He told them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. Go, I am sending you as lambs among wolves. Take neither purse, nor scrip, nor sandals, and do not greet anyone on the road." Excuse me, Lord? Yes, Thomas? "Regarding thy command that we travel 2 by 2? Yes, Thomas? Well, no one desireth to go with Thribiel. The Lord inquireth of Thomas, why doth no one desireth to go with Thribiel? He looks all right to me. Well, he's a bit odd, Lord. Well, we're all a bit odd, Thomas. Who goest with thou, Thomas? Thomas replieth mournfully, no one desireth to go with me either, Lord. Well, for all thou knowest, Thribiel might want to go with thee. I doubt it. Well, let's ask him, shall we? Thribiel, dost thou wish to accompany Thomas? Well, yea, Lord, but canst thou ask of him that he cometh across a little less negative? He can be a bit of an Eeyore. Thomas, canst thou do that? I doubt it, but verily I will try. Good, saith the Lord. Now mayhap we can get on. Departeth thou in twos, and take neither purse, nor scrip, nor sandals, and do not greet anyone on the road. Now go. But immediately one of the 70 raiseth his hand to ask of the Lord if a small pink face towel might be taken. And that setteth all the others off. One inquireth concerning his personal hygiene kit, which fitteth nicely into a pocket specially sewn into his robe by his mother. Another pleadeth to be allowed to take a small stuffed animal without which he feeleth insecure at night. And yet another postulateth a situation in which he meeteth the Lord himself on the road, and asketh whether the command to not greet anyone applieth in that case. Until, behold, there ariseth a great clamor of foolish inquiries. Then the Lord shouteth for silence, and saith, Look, I don't think we've quite grasped the theory behind this trip, have we? The idea is not that thou smugglest things into thine luggage, but rather that thou art dependent upon me. Understandest thou? No purse, no scrip, no sandals, no distractions, no extra toothbrush, no teddy bear, no MasterCard, just go. Then a lengthy silence falleth. And just as Jesus believeth that they are truly about to depart, a nervous hand raiseth itself. Jesus regardeth the owner of the hand with narrowed eyes. Yes. Regarding thy command that we should take no scrip, Lord? Yes. Well, to be honest, I knoweth not what a scrip is, Lord, and it worrieth me that I might take a scrip without realizing I have it. Jesus looketh about him and asketh, how many of you knoweth not what a scrip is? There is a silence, and yea, verily, 70 hands raiseth in the air. And Jesus emitteth a little sigh, and smileth to himself, and saith, okay, taketh the weight off thine feet. Behold, I commenceth from the beginning. That's from the Sacred Diary of Adrian Plass, Christian speaker, age 45 3/4, which is the title. And he's playing on the King James English there. He's playing on those these and thous and ests and eths that we don't relate to. But the thing that I like best about that story is that line, we're all a bit odd, aren't we? I was in a meeting recently with a woman who introduced herself as belonging to that weird Baptist church in Hamilton, and I said to her, I think probably all Baptist churches are weird one way or another, especially to observers, especially to those looking in from outside this life of faith that we live. A lot of people think we're a bit odd. For the most part, nice enough, but, he's nice enough, but it's too bad he's religious. Or they think that we can't function in the real modern world, and that's why we try to live according to rules that don't really apply anymore. They might think that we're a little bit gullible, a little bit deluded, that we believe in an invisible friend who, instead of being just sort of warm and fuzzy, is actually a little bit scary. But the worst thing that a lot of people looking on from beyond see when they look at us is our potential for judginess. A lot of people will say, well, Christians are very judgmental. Christians try to hold each other accountable. They try to hold other people accountable to the rules that they set for themselves. They try to make everybody behave like they do. And to be fair, if we look back into our history, into the world of history, and even today, it's easy to understand how people come to understand that about who we are. Because we do sometimes make those very same mistakes. But the thing is, who they think we are is not who we are. And this story this morning gives us a brilliant insight, not into how the world sees us, but how Jesus sees us. Who does Jesus say we are? So our scripture focus this morning talks about the time when Jesus sent the 70 or the 72, depending on which translation you're reading. You'll get 70 and you'll get 72. And that is not a difference that makes a difference. The reason why that number, why Jesus would have chosen that number, plausibly, is that in the ancient Near East, 70 or 72 was considered to be the number of nations on earth. That was, when you were saying 70, when you were saying 72, you were saying the whole earth, every nation. So the Lord appointed these 70 or 72 and sent them ahead of him into every town and place that he was about to visit. He knew where he was going. He knew the path he was going to take. He sent them to prepare the way. And this moment for these people, this was huge. This was massive. Do not underestimate the importance of this moment for Thomas and Thribiel and all of the rest of them. For nearly 3 years, these people, both men and women, had been following Jesus. They had been watching him and learning to imitate him. because that was the job of a disciple. The responsibility of a disciple was to learn your rabbi, to dedicate your life to becoming so much like him as possible, to eat and read and sleep and dress and study, and ultimately to teach as much like your rabbi as you possibly could, and then to raise up a new group of disciples to carry on the tradition. That was a disciple's responsibility. And some of these people had spent 2.5 or 3 years doing exactly that, spending time with Jesus. They were with him from the beginning, and they saw him as he taught in synagogues, taught in the street, said things like, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." They watched and probably cringed a little bit as he touched a man with leprosy, as he forgave a man his sins, as he was confronted and was confronting of the religious leaders and the people who enforced the rules, as he resurrected a widow's dead young son as they were carrying him to the graveyard, as he set a boy free who was being tormented by an evil spirit, as he stood in a rocking boat and stopped a storm, as he accepted women as disciples, as he just ignored King Herod, who wanted to meet Jesus. They were there when Jesus fed the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. They were there to see Jesus rejected by the insiders, the Jewish believers, and rejected by outsiders, the despised Samaritans. They were there to hear people of all stripes make endless and creative excuses for not becoming a disciple of Jesus. They had spent 2.5, 3 years seeing Jesus do all of that. And now it was their turn. Now he was sending them out. He was sending them all out to imitate him out there in the world when he was not even in the room. He sent them out to do what he had been doing. Through that passage in Luke 10, Jesus tells them, in effect, wherever you go, I'm going to tell you where to go. When you get there, this is what you're going to do. You're going to connect with somebody who lives there, and then you are going to spend the time you're there looking for the need and meeting it, looking for the hurt and healing it, looking for the bondage and breaking it, looking for the hunger and feeding it, looking for the despair and speaking peace into it. You are going to go and you are going to look for people who have not met Jesus, who have never heard of him, and you are going to offer to introduce them to your rabbi. And Jesus tells them, travel light. Leave behind what you don't need. Even leave behind some of the things you think you will need. But trust me. Don't get distracted. Just go. Go to Bethany. Go to Capernaum. Go to Galilee. Go to Samaria. Go to Jerusalem. Get there. Find out what's happening there. And then ask yourself, what would Jesus do? And then do it. Now, usually, if I'm teaching about a story in the Bible, I will say this story is not about us. I will be very clear on that, and I will say that as many times as I have to. I am not David, and Goliath is not my problems. That story is not about me. It's about how God met David in that moment. But this is an exception. This story is actually about us. Their world is my world. Their Lord is my Lord. Their job is my job. The things that we have in common are so much greater than the things that are different between me and Thomas and Thribiel. And I don't know who you relate to best in Jesus' group of disciples. I don't know which person in that history of our believerhood that you connect with the most. I mean, for some of us, it might be the fictional Thribiel, who is just a little bit odd. Or it might be Thomas, who comes across as a bit of an Eeyore. You might relate best to Peter, whose heart was in the right place, but he often spoke too soon. You might relate better to Mary, who had lived experience of traumas that the others couldn't and didn't want to understand. You might relate more to Nathaniel, who was just an honest and decent man doing his best to follow Jesus. You might relate best to Joanna, who was living the best she could between an unbelieving world and her Lord and her life of faith. You might relate better to Matthew, who had a history that he could have been ashamed of, but that he moved forward from and walked away. You might relate better to Simon the Zealot, who had laid down his weapons in exchange for a life of love. You might relate better to Andrew, who was, again, just a decent guy, but who probably spent a lot of time in his big brother's shadow. And whoever you relate to the most in that group, Jesus rounds us up just the way he did them. He taught them what they needed to know, just as he today, through the Spirit and through each other and through his word, teaches us what we need to know. He gave them the tools and the power to do what they needed to do because he had told them to do it, the same as he does with us today. And he sent them out, just like he sends us today. He sends us, as he sent them, to places where we would have gone anyway. He sends us to speak peace to those who are willing to receive it. He sends us to tell people that Christ's kingship is here just for the embracing. He sends us out to show them what Christ's kingship looks like by sharing what we have received. And we do that in so many different ways. We are such a diverse bunch of people. So Jesus, he may say to you, go and serve the meal, make the donation, give the ride. Go and sign the petition, write the letter, join the protest. Go and put your arm around the shoulder, offer the Kleenex, and sit in silence. Go and get down to child's eye level and listen whether you understand them or not. Go and just join a club that does something that you enjoy. Join the board of a community organization that you feel passionately about. Make friends there. Find out what's happening in the room. Go and clean up the mess that somebody else made, knowing full well that they will make it again. Go and teach. Just stand up and say something true when somebody asks you a question, and trust God to make it land where it needs to land. Go and lead. Step out first. Invite people to follow. Go and then just hold the door open for someone to step through after you. Because the story of the 72 is the story of us. Jesus told them to go, and they went. Jesus tells us to go, and we go. At the Last Supper, which we're going to commemorate shortly at the table of communion, at the Last Supper, Jesus prayed for us. He didn't just pray for the 12. He didn't just pray for the disciples who were in the room. He prayed for us. He prayed for the people sitting in the pews of Calvary Baptist, Coburg, on the 6th of July, 2025. He prayed for us because he prayed for all of those who will believe in me through the message of my disciples. Jesus said, truly, truly, like really, for real, I tell you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I am doing. Whoever believes in me will also do the works that I am doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I'm going to the Father. Those of us who believe in him are called to do what he did. So what did he do? What had the disciples seen Jesus do up to that point? What have we seen him do through our reading of Scripture? Jesus worked miracles. He saved lives. He touched the untouchable. He stood downwind of the unwashed. He preached truth. He stood toe to toe with the powers. He washed his disciples' feet. He had his heart broken. And Jesus tells us to go and do the things that I have done. There were two quotes that I was looking at this week, both of which I really, really like. And I was trying to decide which one of them would be best here. But I think I'm actually just going to read you both. The first quote is from a man named Michael Frost, who is an Australian theologian. He is an advocate for the church. He is a prophetic voice in our time, urging us to step up and do what Jesus has called us to do. And Michael Frost has said this: Christ's church does not have a mission. Christ's church does not have a mission. Christ's mission has a church. Christ set in motion his mission of restoration, of reconciliation, of redemption, of saving the world. And we are the way, one of the ways in which he does that work. The church doesn't have a mission. We don't decide what we're here to do. We don't decide what we're going to spend our money on. Church doesn't have a mission. The mission has a church. It's his mission, not ours. Second quote is from a man named Archbishop William Temple, who lived from 1881 to 1944. Very different world from the one that Michael Frost lives in. Very different reality for the church from the one that Michael Frost knows and works in. But William Temple said this: the church exists primarily for the sake of those who are still outside it. We don't exist to just be us. We don't exist to serve ourselves. We don't exist to keep the doors open and the lights on. We don't exist to sing the songs we like. Although I admit I chose two of my favorites this morning. Actually, I chose four of my favorites this morning. That's not why we're here. We are here for the people who are not here. We come together to encourage each other, to learn, to strengthen each other, to reconnect at this table week by week, month by month, so that we can go, so that we can be the church out there, volunteering at the hospital, teaching part-time in public schools, visiting people in nursing homes, hanging out on the board of Transition House, whatever it is that God is calling you to do out there where you would have gone anyway. That is our job. This is not our job. This is a bonus. This is a plus. We get to come together and be together and learn together and sing together and pray together and encourage each other and fellowship and strengthen and grieve and celebrate together. But our job is not this. Our job is out there. We need this. We need this table. We need this time together. We need that time encouraging and strengthening each other and reconnecting with first principles and reconnecting with Jesus in this way. We need this so that we can go and do what he's told us to do. We don't have a lot of programs here in our church. We have a few things that we do as a group, as a body. And that may change as we grow, as we move into the future. We may see things getting organized, and we may find that there are things that we want to be doing here in this building together to advance Christ's kingdom. But right now, what this church does amazingly well is it's out there. I love the fact that we have so many people who volunteer in so many ways in our town, in the thrift stores and in the hospital and in the shelter and on the streets and in the nursing homes and wherever you go, whatever you're part of out there. You are out there doing what Jesus is telling you to do. You are going and being who he is making you in the places where he places you. And yes, we come together to reconnect, but our job is to go. Our job is to go and to be his salt and light, to be his voice and his hands in the places where we were going to be going anyway. Our job is to march against the gates of hell. Our job is to be his people out there. Our job is to be, yes, a family of slightly odd and perfectly ordinary human beings, but carrying within us, everywhere we go, carrying within us the Holy of Holies, carrying within us the light and the beauty and the flame of who Christ is and what the Spirit can do. Our job is to go out into the world and to do what only Jesus ever did. To go out into the world and to do what only the Holy Spirit can do. So yes, we absolutely do apply ancient principles to our lives. Because we know the one who knows that the world hasn't really changed all that much. We know more about our world now and how it works, and we're thankful for that. It's fascinating. We know now that we are not literally the center of the universe, although sometimes you'd never know it from how we act. But we also know that humans have not changed. Human nature has not changed. The need out there has not changed. The weakness in here has not changed. And yes, we do set rules for ourselves, rules for conduct and behavior and attitude. We do that because we are looking to the example of the only human who ever got it all right. And we are trying so hard to become more like him. And yes, we absolutely do believe in an invisible friend, but we believe in an invisible friend who chose to make himself seen, who chose to make himself touchable, to become God with a voice, God with an accent, God in skin. And it's he who we remember when we come to the table of communion. It's interesting when we read the account, especially in the book of Luke, of Jesus' conversation with his disciples around this table. He's telling them that he's leaving. He's told them this several times now. I'm going to be leaving, and it is going to be really, really hard, you guys. It is going to be so hard, but don't give up. Stay together. And one of the things that Jesus says to them as they're sitting at this table together, he asks them this question. He says, do you guys remember that time I sent you out? Do you remember that time I sent you out with no purse and no bag and no sandals and no teddy bear and no extra toothbrush and no MasterCard? Do you remember that? Do you remember I did that? And they're like, yeah, we remember that. And Jesus said, did you lack anything? Nothing, they answered. When Jesus sends us out, he does not send us in our own strength. He sends us because he's sending us to where he was going anyway. And he will meet us there because he got there first. So as we come to the communion table, this is one of those moments when we gather, we come together, we regroup, we remember, we remind each other and ourselves of why we are who we are, of why we do what we do, of why he sent us out. So if you are a believer in Jesus, I invite you to join us in communion this morning. We're going to sing a song, and then Reg is going to come and pray for us, and then we will distribute the elements to share communion together. So let's take a deep breath. Take a moment to silence ourselves, to consider who it is that we have come to spend time with here. Jesus and each other as we share at the table today.